I just was authentically,
Yep.
organically like sharing places that I liked, and I was new to the area. So I was kind of discovering Phoenix with my audience.
Gotcha.
And it just took off.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bosses of the Valley. I'm your host, Cherie. Today I'll be introducing Aiesha Beasley, and she is a content creator located here in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's get started. Hey Aiesha, how are
Hey,
you doing today?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
good. Thank you so much for being here. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I am super excited to be interviewing you, that you accepted this interview.
Oh,
And I wanted to also start by letting you know that one of the reasons that I was like so drawn to you and I was like, I have to get her in here is just, your authentic personality and your love for the community. I love how you like go around, you highlight the different businesses and you're also giving the community a taste of, what's out here that we may not be used to because there's things that I haven't seen until I looked at your videos and I'll find myself just watching your videos and seeing, new places that you've introduced and I'm like, I have to try it. I do have to tell you one. I just tried oh my goodness, what is the name of it? It was the working space.
oh, is it Hearsay
Hearsay.
in
I just
Biltmore?
tried,
Yeah, in the
yes.
Biltmore area.
I
Yeah.
seen your video and I was like, I gotta go try it and
Yeah.
brought my laptop and it was amazing. So
I
it was like a
like
really
it.
good working. So
Yeah,
thank
you
you.
can just snack, eat, have a drink, and just there.
Yes.
I just love how they have so much space in there just to kind of lounge
Oh my
and.
goodness. And like you said, the space when I went in there, at first I was like, okay, where do I sit with my laptop? Do I want to
Mm,
work? Do I want to do more of like a lounging? And then they were like, you could go sit more. It was in a back area
hmm.
and it was amazing. So I had the laptop, it was eating dinner. And so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I love that. I love to hear stuff like that. That just means the world to me when people are just like, I saw your videos and, I was able to discover, Phoenix, especially people who are new here and they
Right.
just are trying to find their direction. They're trying to find things that, they're drawn to, whether that's activities and
Hmm.
restaurants and, what have you.
Exactly, and it gets people
Yeah,
out there more. So I know sometimes
absolutely.
I wanna do something different, and, I seen that and I said, This is gonna be low key, so I wanna
Hmm.
go and do this." So thank you.
You're welcome. You're
All
welcome.
right, well, let's get started. I'm just gonna ask a few different topics on what it's like in the life of a content creator.
Mhm,
I'm pretty
mhm,
sure we have so many aspiring, content creators out there and,
mhm.
what it's like. So if you're out there, let's tune in and let's get some notes, so all
Yay.
right. So my first question is going to be, actually, it's funny. I don't even make a card for this one anymore. Um, how long have you been doing content creating?
Oh, yeah. So I've been doing content creation for over a decade.
Okay.
I started with a blog. I had a Tumblr back in the early 2010s. At the time I was in college and I just wanted a creative outlet, so it
Yep.
was just really fun for me. Just kind of customizing your blog page and just making all the fun edits. I was taking photos and posting them on my blog and it was really, really fun for me, and, I was able to grow that platform back then to over 20,000, which
Wow.
back in the early 2010s, I mean, that was pretty
Yes.
significant, considering, content creation or the word content creator wasn't even a thing back then.
Yep.
We were just we were early on in YouTube, like, it just was
Okay.
a very early time in not really necessarily social media as a whole, but just like kind of this whole influencer culture.
Right.
So, I mean, I wasn't an influencer. I just was just posting stuff out there, because those terms kind of came later on. And then in 2017, I had a personal Instagram account and I had a friend tell me, they're like, oh, you should kind of get back into your blogging. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to do all that. And they're like, why would you just create like a second Instagram account? And I was like, okay. So I created a second Instagram account and that was back in 2017. And it again, I was, posting more fashion,
Okay.
lifestyle. I think that was kind of very the height of like the Instagram, influencer, the very aesthetic photos, the
Right.
travel content, people like I don't know, it was a very interesting time, in social media, and I was just kind of slowly building my platform. I was still living in Tucson,
Okay.
and, just kinda growing that. I grew a little bit of a micro following, and in 2019, I moved out here to Phoenix, transferred with my job, still had my little hobby
Okay.
with, like, doing influencer stuff, content creation, and decided to also create a TikTok at that time. So in
Gotcha.
2019, I created a TikTok and was working my job and just again having fun with it. Like I feel like I love now that there's this whole kind of rise of what people wanting to be content creators. They're like, I want to do this as a job. I want to do this as a
Mhm.
career. But back then, it just wasn't really a thing until
Right.
most recently, the last few years. And, I just didn't know that this could be like a job or
Okay.
like a whole career type thing. For me, it was just such a fun
Right.
way
Just like
to
a
just a
passion, so
passion just to just have fun, have a creative outlet while I'm working my 9 to
yep.
5. And yeah, I was kind of progressively growing that and, COVID hit. I was furloughed from my job and I just started posting a lot on TikTok because I was bored like, most people were.
Right.
Like I was like, I didn't have anything else better to do besides be on social media.
Right.
Um, and I, started just posting videos that I had from like cute coffee shops where I was taking photos at, and I was just like throwing them as videos. And I had a few videos blow up. And it
Okay.
kind of started this whole thing, Arizona Places. So, Arizona
Okay.
Places wasn't like this strategic thing, like, I'm going to start a food page and do this and do that and like grow this. It was like, I just was authentically,
Yep.
organically like sharing places that I liked, and I was new to the area, so I was kind of discovering Phoenix with my audience,
Gotcha.
and it just took
I
off,
love
and
that.
so it was kinda crazy. I wasn't expecting that.
So it's you answered a question that I was going to ask was if
Yeah.
you did this strategically or if this was something that just happened. And so I see that you just put in the work for something that you loved. You didn't
Mhm.
necessarily say, I'm going to be a content creator and I'm going to make these videos and go in these places. So it was just more of, hey, I enjoy doing this. I'm sitting here and
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and, obviously, when I saw that I was getting some traction, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna, like, roll with it," obviously, people were liking my content, and, it just kinda motivated me to wanna create more videos,
okay.
but, yeah, there wasn't this, like, strategy of, like, "Okay, I wanna be a full-time influencer. I wanna go on these Tarte brand trips and do all these beauty brand trips, and, like, this is what I'm gonna do to get there and, do this, do that." It was like, I love being a creator. I loved taking photos. I was learning, I took photography classes in like high school and, art classes in college and all of that. So it just was always
Nice.
this natural
Okay.
progression for me. But yeah, there wasn't really necessarily a strategy of like, how can I become a successful content creator and make a ton of money? It just
Okay.
wasn't like that for
I
me.
love that. So
Yeah.
yes, that was one of my questions. And so I love to hear it. It just basically came natural. It came natural for you and out of,
Absolutely.
like I said, a passion. And that's
Mhm.
the best. That's a really good feeling.
Mhm.
So yeah, so thank
Yeah.
you for sharing on
Yeah, thank
that.
you.
All right. So I'm gonna jump over then to building a brand and going
Mm,
viral. So
yeah.
kind of off the topic, but not off the topic, but off the card. But for do you have a video in particular or a posting in particular that went viral that you remember when starting out?
Yeah, so, I would say, I think for me, like, being that I've been creating content for such a long time, I really, being on Instagram in, like, the late 2010s, like, in 2017, 2018, I never really had like, any viral content. It just was, like, people were, like, slowly following me because they were seeing, like, my photo content and stuff like that. Virality didn't happen until TikTok, I
Okay.
think in general, TikTok changed a lot of people's lives, because it was easy access to
Right.
virality. And so, I mean, hearing stories of people being like, I was, doing this for years and,
Mhm.
on social media for years, and nothing ever clicked until TikTok. And I think, like, knowing so many creators throughout the years, and, I think we always see that like 1% of success that just like posted one video and they're like
Right.
overnight famous and all those things. But the real story is a lot of creators, it took them years to have a viral moment. And for me, that happened in 2020 on TikTok. And it was videos I had compiled of this restaurant in Tucson called Little Anthony's. I actually filmed the clips like in 2019. I still have them on my phone, and it was like me in a cute little outfit, and it's like this 50s diner,
Okay.
very vibey, very cute, pink. I was like, oh, I have these clips. I'm just gonna throw them on TikTok. Video took off, and then I just remember, I would have businesses who saw my TikTok, they would DM me on Instagram and be like, "Hey, like,
Okay.
can you come in and, like, we'll give you a free meal, like, we would love for you to, like, do a video for us for TikTok." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not a foodie account, like, I'm not, like, this, like,
Right.
foodie, like, reviewer, this foodie content creator. I'm just a girl who loves cute places and, like, likes to be cute and, like, likes to take photos." And, but I mean, I was rolling with it because I was
Right.
furloughed from my job and it was free food. So,
Right, exactly. That's the free food.
I was like, "Okay." And
I'm
so,
in.
I'm in, at the time I was like, "Okay, like, this works."
Right.
So, yeah, so I was starting to, like, get slowly invited, for businesses who, like,
Okay.
saw me early on and, like, really believed in, like, what I was doing, and they're like, you wanted me to come in and, like, shoot content for them. So, that's kind of how it
Okay.
really kinda started.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump around because I want to follow up to that before I forget.
Yeah.
So with that, I that was one of the questions that I was wondering, and I know a lot of people might ask this.
Mhm,
We see content creators, like, they have their camera, they're out in
mhm,
these places. So most of the places, if not all, that you do the highlights for,
mhm.
they know that you're coming in there, right? So
It really depends. I think it depends on the creator. I think it depends on the business. I mean, a lot of my early content was just me finding a cute spot that I discovered,
okay.
and I would just go in and film, and get my little clips. I mean, and they didn't know I was filming, so they didn't know I was going in to do a little TikTok. And so I think now, because especially this Phoenix market has expanded so big, I would
Yes.
say probably 80 to 90% of like the food content you see on social media, a lot of those influencers are getting invited. Because there's no way you're going to all these new places paying for all your meals,
Right.
especially like, it's just no way. So
In
uh
today's,
in today's influencer world.
Yes.
I would say early COVID around that time, a lot of us were just going out and we were just like paying for our
Right.
stuff. Like, and a lot of times, like businesses were back then were still very weary on the power of TikTok. I
Okay.
think now businesses, a lot of local businesses, they see the value in it
Yep.
because they see it's going to bring them so much traction inviting 20 influencers to come in and do a video. And
Right.
so a lot of times when you see a lot of the creators, you're like, oh wow, I'm seeing like 10 creators post the same video. They look like they all went to the same place around the same time. It's because we were all
The
invited.
same
They all emailed us and they all invited
Yes,
us to like
it's like their way of marketing. It's like,
exactly.
so I totally understand that.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
So when you are doing, okay, this is, I feel like that there is a lot of people out there who want to do content creating, but they
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable, they feel awkward
Uh-huh.
with pulling out a camera, putting that on themselves, and like, how do you get past that fear of doing that?
It takes practice, and I think now it's a lot easier than when I was trying to plop up with a tripod to do it because people would stare at me for days on end. I'd be somewhere and people would be like, "Why are you talking to
What's she
yourself?"
doing? Yes.
Yeah, like I had someone be like, "Honey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to film like a video," and this was in Tucson because people just didn't understand
Right.
it back then. You just kind of have to silence the noise.
Okay.
It's just a fear that you have to just kind of get over. I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you
Yes.
get. And it is scary. It is scary to be like, doing it in front of the camera, but I feel like it's easier than ever to do it because I think people understand that there's influencers, there's
Right.
content creators, it's a
You're
thing.
starting to, that's, yeah, I was gonna
So
say
it's
it's
not, if I see someone out with their camera, I'm not like just it's just
what are they
staring
doing?
at them. I'm like,
Yes.
I know like that's what they're doing. And I think most people now like know that's what's happening.
Right. No, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
actually true. That's like, 'cause that was the biggest thing, and I feel like for me, if I haven't actually been out where I've seen someone do that yet,
Mhm.
but if I did, I would know right away, probably like they're filming for something, or,
Mhm.
a platform or TikTok or whatever. So
Exactly.
okay, so I'm gonna jump around to building a brand and the going viral. I have a
Mhm.
question on that.
Mhm.
So would you say that or I'm gonna ask, what is the real formula? Is it luck? Is it trending, consistency for someone going, trying to go viral? I know a lot of people are kind of focused on viral videos, but I just want people to know, like,
Mhm.
it's not that easy, like you were
Mhm.
explaining earlier, and sometimes
Mhm.
I know it looks easy because we see a video online and you're like, you look and you're like, oh my goodness, like this person just posted this video and like they're viral and I
Mhm,
could do this. And I feel like there's maybe a lot of planning that goes into something because you want to go viral
mhm.
versus just being like, authentic and understanding that things take time.
Yeah, so I mean, a formula to go viral. I really think a lot of people they do focus on the virality aspect, which I completely understand. But I've always had this mindset: it's not about going viral; it's what happens after you go viral. Because yes, you could have one viral video, and let's say you're just making a funny video with your friends, but it's not related to the content that you've already been
Right.
posting, right?
Okay.
Like it's not. It's just some random video, and so you're gaining this attention from this one random video, but it's not building an authentic, loyal
Mm-hmm.
audience because they saw you do this funny TikTok, but then there's nothing else on your page related to the other
Right.
stuff that you do. So you either have to kind of bounce off of that video and make that your focus, or you need to understand, okay, I just made a funny video. People loved that one piece of content,
Right.
but I'm still going to grind and do my beauty videos. And I think that, when it comes to virality, it is a little bit of luck, but it's also the piece of content. Like, what about that piece of content grabbed people's
Right.
attention? Like, what was that one thing? Was it something funny you said? Was it a crazy dance? Was it just something that was
Right.
shocking? What emotion did you pull from that audience? And really think about that. And then, understand like, okay, is this the direction I want to take my content? Or is this something that I just was having fun with?
Right.
It got a lot of attention, and then I'm going to keep pushing forward on my own goals because I think virality is cool because it builds, some a little bit of awareness to your page, but like it may not be the niche that you're
So
trying to be
yes.
viral in. If you're trying to be a beauty creator and then you just did one funny, goofy video that's not related to any of your content, like it's really in turn not going to help you for your
Right.
end goal, right? So
Yep.
if you want to be on those Tarte trips and you want to have brands fly you out and do all those things, like, is that really going to
To be
help the
right.
goal? Yeah.
So, okay, you led me into it again. So I like her. So that was going to be a very
Mhm,
important question I wanted to ask. How important is it to either that you feel it
mhm,
is to either have one niche or
mhm.
to go into multiple things because you feel like you're so creative? Like, how important is that to you?
I feel like, you have to understand if content creation is a goal that you want to take seriously, like, I've been so fortunate to now that this is my full-time job. Like I left my job 2 years ago to do this full time. And I think you have to understand like what is your end goal? Who is your audience? Who who is the person you're trying to reach and like understand who what that vision
Right.
is and build content around it. So if you're like, wow, I want to help women because I see something in myself that I want to share with other women or whatever it is, like you need to hone in on your why and who your target audience
Right.
is. And I think like when it comes to niches, it's like, yeah, you can have a niche. Like if you're very passionate about beauty, go through that route. Like you don't want to put yourself in a niche that you don't like. Like if you don't
Mm-hmm.
love food and you don't love creating food content, but you're only doing food content because you know it's going
That's what's
viral,
yep.
like that's what's getting you views, down the line, you're gonna become miserable. You're gonna be like,
Right.
this is not what I truly want. I'm burnt out. I don't like this. I think you have to find your why and
Yes.
whose lives are you trying to change? Because that's going to drive your purpose no matter if you
Yes.
get 500 views or a million views. You're going to keep grinding because you love it. And I think a lot of people get stuck like, I need to find a niche. I need to figure out how to
Oh
go viral.
yes.
I need to figure out how to get views. It's like, what's your why behind this? Why do you want to do this?
Why?
Because it's not an overnight thing. I
Right.
think we're seeing, these like 1% of creators go viral and it's like, oh my gosh, like Charlie D'Amelio,
Doesn't work
Addison Rae,
anymore.
all these
Yes.
people that like, had this like viral moment, which is cool, but that's not the norm for a lot of creators.
Exactly.
I think once you get into that world and you see that a lot of creators that I even know personally out here in the Arizona space, a lot of them have been doing this for
Yep.
years. And, some of them haven't hit that success yet. Some of them haven't quit their job yet.
Right.
This is still a hobby for them, but they love it because they want to help people.
Yes.
Whether it's like helping them find new places like food spots or motivation or how to, dress for your, your shape or whatever it is. Like they're doing it because they love it and they want to help
Yes.
people.
And that makes a difference. Like
It makes a
operating
difference.
from intent and purpose. You said the word purpose, and I
Mhm.
was like, yes. But
Yeah.
operating from purpose, intent, and passion, like I feel like that's the true drive. Because, like you
Uh-huh.
said, you want to do something that you actually love because you will get burnt out or get tired of something that you're really not interested in. So,
Absolutely, and then you won't be so stuck on the views and stuff like
yes.
that. Because I think, it's natural. Because I even get, sometimes, like, downer in my head, it's natural, it
Right.
happens to all of us, but I think, like, we downplay what 500 views is or what 1,000 views are. Like, imagine being in front of 1,000 people who are looking at you
Right.
and listening to what you have to say, but we're sad when our video only gets 1,000 views.
Yep.
Like, 10,000 views, grand scheme of things, yes, it's not a million. Yes, it's not, those viral hits, but imagine if 10,000 people were in front of you, you were on stage and 10,000 people were looking at you.
Yes. And not
That's a
only
lot of
that,
people.
you never know who in those views are watching you. And so even if you get
Exactly.
5 views, there's somebody in that view that's really watching. And I feel, also even with not turning this around on me, but even with doing this, that's the
Yeah.
one thing I've learned. I was like, you mentioned, you made a really good point. I said, when you love doing something, you just
Mhm.
look forward to it.
Yeah.
That stuff, yeah, everyone thinks about viewers and followers, but it's really
Mhm.
like, okay, I absolutely love doing this. I'm
Mhm.
like, I get excited. I'm like, when's my next interview? Like, I can't wait to schedule another
Yeah.
interview. I get to meet these cool people and go around these different places. So I definitely think that's very important. So you made a good point
Absolutely.
on that. So thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. All right. So I'm going to jump over to just talking about sponsorships,
Mhm.
PR, and the business side of content creating.
Mhm.
So what is it like when you first got your first sponsorship deal, and how do you navigate with negotiating your worth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember when I was still living in Tucson, my one of my first brand deals was actually with, Bumble. They at the
Huh,
time,
I've
they
heard of Bumble.
launched Bumble BFF. So so it was, like, back I think it was, like, 2018, and I was so excited, and they're like, "Hey," they reached out, and they're like, "We wanna work with you," and I think at the time, it was, like, $500, and I was like, "Oh my god," like, I was so excited. I was like, $500 and I have to just do like a photo post. I was like, okay. Like it was
That's good.
that's good. Yeah. I was like, I mean, yeah, because now it's like, oh God, I gotta do a reel, I gotta edit a reel, like all those
Yes.
things. So I was so excited. And I mean, at the time I was learning how to negotiate. And I think when you're starting out, you're just so excited to work
Right.
with brands and you're wanting to just accept it, because you're like, oh, I get to work with these cool brands. But I think as you continue to grow your platform, I think it really is important for you to know your worth and understand, like, okay, like this big brand's reaching out and they're asking for like 2 videos. I need to understand how to like negotiate that so it's fair for me as
Right.
as a creator. Cause I think that that's one thing that's still very lacking in the industry is there isn't a baseline of like, okay, like if you have this amount of followers, this is what you should
Yep.
charge, because, someone new could come in, grow their platform super quickly, and then I could have the same amount of followers as that new
Mhm.
person, but their rates are like significantly low because they don't understand how to charge.
Right.
And my rates could be a lot higher because I understand, my worth, because, it's not just about the piece of video. It's like, okay, does the brand want to use your content? Like, do they want usage rights? Do they want to have that piece of content to put on their website, or do they want to boost it for an
Right.
ad? Do they want exclusivity, which is in a lot of big contracts where they're like, hey, if you're working with for example, if you're working with Domino's, like you can't work
Work
with
with
Pizza
another,
Hut, you
right.
can't work with any other pizza brands, like, you're exclusive to us. So again, that's like a loss of income, because if I
Right.
can't work with other pizza places, I will lose income. If Pizza Hut decided to be like, hey, we want to pay you 10,000, but I'm like, oh, I'm exclusive to
Right.
Domino's and I only got $1,000 from that deal,
Right.
like it's a loss of income. So you want to make sure you're charging accordingly
That's a really
to
good
what
point.
all these businesses and brands are asking for, because you could be leaving money on the table. So
Mhm.
a deal that could have been like $1,000 deal could turn into a $10,000 deal depending on what that contract looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
So
really great point.
so
So
read
thanks
your
for mentioning that.
contracts.
Yes.
Read your
You gotta
contracts,
do your work.
because
You gotta read your contract.
yeah,
So
because they'll slip in some stuff to where they're like, we want to use your face and your photos for in perpetuity, and that's forever. So like, and that's like another thing that you don't want to like grant brands like perpetual rights over your content, because if that brand gets into a scandal like down the line, you're still tied to that brand, and they
right.
could plop your
Yep.
content up at any point, and you're
So
like,
like
well, I
the
haven't
images. Yeah. And when people
exactly,
see
you're like,
that, that's
you're
where you
connected,
at.
and you're like,
Yes.
I haven't worked with them in 5 years. You're
Yep.
like, so yeah, just have to be
Read the
very careful.
contract.
Yeah, be careful, because there's
Very important.
some stuff in those contracts where I was like shocked.
I bet.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next question. But do you work with a manager or a PR team, or is it do you do represent yourself?
So I now have management. So when I was starting out, for a very long time, I didn't have management, and I do see that there is some value of having
Okay.
somebody who can negotiate on your behalf. They can deal with the back and forth with the brands and the
Right.
businesses. They also can read those contracts for you, so you're not spending time reading them. And I think what has been beneficial with having a talent manager is I can spend more time on the content creation part and
Yes.
further my brand, versus me going back and forth in the emails with businesses and brands,
Right.
which I used to do all the time. And that's like so time consuming, so time consuming. So, yeah, having
Okay.
talent management can be beneficial, and they can also charge more. Like, they know
Right.
what you're worth, and they're like, yeah, this brand's asking for all this. Like, that's crazy. Like, this
Yes.
is the rate.
So if you haven't learned anything yet from any of the videos, the one thing that's important is to hire the help. Like you have to get the
Hmm.
help. It's that like that's their specialty. They're the experts. We're doing the interviews. That's the one thing they say. And I ask them, and they're like, I have to hire my help. Like I have to get the experts in. I can't do everything on my own. And so
Absolutely.
it leaves you so that you can just focus on, what it is you're doing, the content creating or running the restaurant because you
Hmm.
have, you have your team. So hiring the team is very important.
Exactly, especially if you wanna scale.
Right.
If you wanna scale, yeah, having the help is so important.
Okay,
Mm.
I love that. What would you say is the biggest myth about making money as a content creator that people get wrong?
Oh, okay, woo, I like this one.
I wasn't gonna leave this question off the table.
Biggest myth about that is I think they think a lot of content creators are making millions of dollars, like, they're getting
Swimming in the
these
dough.
swimming in the dough. We have these, like, huge contracts, which, yes, there are big brand deals, especially with a lot of the bigger brands, but I feel like the biggest misconception is, when it comes to pay, a lot of the net terms a lot of these brands and businesses have, whether it's a net 30, a net 60, or net 90, sometimes, like, it will be, like, 2 or 3 months before I get paid from a brand deal, which
Okay.
is very frustrating because, bills are due on the
Right.
1st. Like, I'm sitting here waiting 3 months for my paycheck. I
Yes.
worked with this brand, like, back in October, and I'm just now getting paid from it. It's frustrating because, the money there's a lot of ebbs and flows in content creation, and I think that's with any freelance job. You're
Right.
freelancing, you're working for yourself. So, there's could be a month where you're making 5 figures, and then the next month it's like not
Right.
much, and it's
Yep.
like this up and down trajectory because, when it comes to brand deals, some months are good, some months it's not as many brand
Right.
deals, it's just like it's based on opportunity and what campaigns are happening, and so there's a lot of ebbs and flows. There's a lot of ups and downs with
Yep.
like working for yourself.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's actually gonna bring me to another question is there are challenges behind being a content creator that I don't
Mhm.
think people quite understand or they don't
Yeah.
see. So what are some of those challenges that you would say comes with being a content creator?
I think one of the challenges is, and I think again, this comes with working for yourself, is that, yes, you're free, you're working for yourself, but you're in the mercy of an algorithm.
Right.
You're in the mercy of these
Yes.
platforms. I can't just be like, hey, let me just take 6 months off, like not post. That's gonna hurt
Right.
me. That's gonna hurt my
Yes.
brand. That could hurt opportunities. It could hurt my growth. It can hurt engagement. And I think it's so important to understand that, like, It's a hamster wheel. You gotta
Right.
pump out the content, especially in short form. Short form, I feel like, is the most challenging because it's like you gotta keep up. You
Right.
gotta keep up. You gotta keep up. Whatever's happening, whatever's new is going
Yep.
on, like you gotta keep up and pump out those videos. And I think that's a big challenge because it's like it's like it feels like almost 24/7. And I like to say I left my 9 to 5 to work 24/7 because it is. It's like,
Right.
when it comes to having a platform, you want to respond to comments, you want to answer the DMs, you want to respond to the businesses in your email, you want to respond to the businesses in your DMs, you need to be
Right.
posting consistently, you need to be active on stories. I got to be active also on TikTok and Instagram
Yes.
and try to focus on YouTube because I don't know if TikTok is still going to be around. Like, I got to diversify my brands
Yes.
and then also have the added layer protection of having a newsletter and a website that I own just in case these platforms disappear someday. I have ownership of
Yes.
my brand.
That's important. That is
So
very important.
yeah, so I
So,
also have that in place. And yeah, it's you're running a business, right? You're running a business that is yourself.
yes.
And it's constantly, making sure that you're, having to pivot if something isn't working, like this is my full-time gig. I gotta pivot and see, look at my analytics and see what I can change. So
Right.
you also have to start thinking strategically as you grow and as this becomes your full-time job because yes, it's still that fun aspect of a hobby, but also this is a business for me
Right.
where I monetize. So if something isn't working and the engagement drops, I have to reassess that as to the why
Yes.
because this is a business for me. It's not the funsies like
Right.
anymore because I'm
It's a
monetizing.
business, like, you literally
Yeah.
just said that, and you said something that was very important,
Mm.
just that time when TikTok was taken down
Yeah.
for that day, I'm pretty sure that affected a lot of
Oh,
people, their
yeah.
income, their work. People are probably panicking, and they're like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do." So having, additional, ways that you can, bring in your income and is amazing. So the fact that you said that, it's
Absolutely.
amazing.
You never wanna put all your eggs in one
Yes.
basket and all your eggs in one platform.
Yes.
It's so important because I know there's a lot of people who are like just TikTok creators and like, "I don't wanna be on
Anything
Instagram. I
else?
don't wanna do this. I don't wanna be on YouTube." It's like, well, if you want this to be your job and this career, like, you need to be able to
Right.
diversify on platforms because you don't know when these platforms are gonna
Yep.
disappear. And then who knows, in the next 5 years, there could be a new hot platform where everyone's
Over
jumping ship
there.
for,
Right.
so you have to also rebrand, and so it's just this constant, like, you have to diversify,
Yep. That's
definitely.
a really great point.
Yeah.
That's a really great point.
Uh,
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of follow up with something that we were just talking about.
yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and ask. So we're gonna talk more about behind the scenes and the day to day.
Mhm.
Like, and I know you were just touching on, the things that you have to keep up with, content creating.
Mhm.
But this was something important is that people see the final reel, but they really don't see the grind. So
Yeah.
what is that like a day, just a day for you in the content creating from the time you wake up to
Yeah, so time I wake up, I try, I mean, on a self-care level, I get a workout in. I think it's so important to, start my day that way. And then I go into admin days. Like I build out my schedule like having a 9 to 5, like
okay.
a job, because I realized when I first quit, I was like, "Woo, freedom." I was waking up at noon. I had no boundaries. Like I was just like, there was no schedule. I was like,
Right.
and then I realized, oh, I gotta be a little bit
Psych. Coming back.
organized.
Yeah.
I gotta get it together because everything's all over the place. I needed a little bit of
Okay.
structure. And I think for me, blocking out like a Monday and Tuesdays, I try to have as more admin office days. I'm
Okay.
answering emails, I'm responding to my team, I'm editing, I'm submitting content to brands, I'm handling revisions, from brands because when you work on paid partnerships, a lot of times larger brands will be like, "Hey, like we love this piece, but these are our revisions for you. We want
Okay.
you to edit this." So it's like kind of editing, spending that time, clearing out my inbox, seeing what opportunities are coming in, and then kind of like layering it like this. If I do plan on filming, I try to plan to film later on in the week, like maybe 2 to 3 days a week. But sometimes I'll film in the like afternoon or evening after like my admin days on Mondays and
Okay.
Tuesdays. But when we get into Wednesday, that's when I do more heavy filming.
Okay.
So, it's going to restaurants and I like to batch film. So I'm going to like 2 to 3
You
places
are
a
just
day.
answering all of my
Yeah.
questions. Like I was gonna ask, I said, do you batch film or do you just kind of spread them out or
It really depends on the week. I think it really depends on what's happening. If there's a lot of events going on, maybe I have to kind of spread out my, filming schedule a little bit, but I try to batch film. So I'm
okay.
going to 2 to 3 restaurants a day.
Okay.
I wanna knock it out just so I'm not having to film every
Right.
single day
Okay.
because I feel like you just get kind of burnt out doing
Yes.
that. And then even when I had my 9 to 5, I would batch film on the weekend. So I would
Okay.
take a Saturday and I'm just like, "I'm gonna do all this, so I'm good for the week." And I'm not, like, having to, like, leave my job, go film, go home, then edit, and then do that whole process. So I think batching is so, so important, and I still do that.
Okay.
That way you just have time to, like, decompress, then you have your editing day, and you're not feeling like you're just, like, having to do everything every single day.
Right.
So I think that's so important. And then, yeah, I'll do that, and, yeah, that's kinda how I kind of
Do
schedule
your
out my
okay.
weeks a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
nice. So you do your own editing
Yeah.
and okay, wow. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
So wow.
Yeah, I
See?
do. I don't know. I love creating. I love creating content, and I think for me that's one thing I just have a hard time letting go.
Is there a particular, app that you use when you're doing your editing that, someone may want to know
Yeah,
as a content creator?
I use CapCut, and I was down and out when it was because CapCut was also
With TikTok,
banned.
yes.
I was stressing. I was like, "Take TikTok, but don't take CapCut." I was having a hard time.
That's because I feel like CapCut, I use that from time to time, and it's
Yeah.
so easy. So I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, what else am I going to use? I'm
I
pretty sure there's
know.
a million other ones out there,
I've
but
tried them all, even before I got on the CapCut bandwagon, but I like CapCut because it is easy, it's quick, they have a lot of different features. If you do CapCut Pro, there's even more features,
right.
and I personally like it.
Okay.
If it still gets banned, because I know TikTok stuff is still
Still
up
in
in
the
the air,
air. Yeah.
I'm gonna be stressed because I don't know.
So just don't take CapCut.
Don't
Just
don't take
take everything else.
CapCut. If TikTok has to go, I understand, but CapCut we need we need
We
we
need
need
you
to
to
keep.
CapCut. Yeah, my friend did that too. She was like, I don't know, she had found some way. Yeah, I'm putting you out there on the spot,
Yeah.
Crystal. No. But she was telling me some way that she found, how to use the CapCut during the time. And I was just like, don't take CapCut.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's so funny. All right. So do you ever feel pressure to keep posting? Even I think we kind of I don't know if we exactly touched on this, but days that you're not feeling it. And if so, how do you handle that?
Yes, I do go through those phases. It's hard, because but I also think it's important to take breaks if you need it.
Right.
You don't want to get to a stage where you're super burnt out. And if you need to take a break, you need to take a break. But I also do have this guilt of like, man, I didn't like get up a piece of content today. And I need to also get over those emotional blockages because it's okay to take a day off. It's
Right.
okay to not post for a day or two. But I think, if you need the rest so you're able to like get that creative juice back, I think it's
Right.
super,
It's
super
important.
important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always take a mental day.
Yeah.
So this one I have is Aisha Beyond content creating. So just to
Mm.
get to know a little bit more about you personally, this is the fun
Yeah.
part because I always say that we get to see, the person running the business. We get to see, just this boss. And it's like, who is the person behind,
Mhm.
behind all of that? So my first question is, who is Aisha when the camera is off? And then like what grounds you outside of like social media and content creating?
Ooh, Aisha. So I'm very shy and introverted.
Okay.
It's, something that I've been, trying to like overcome like throughout my adulthood. So I'm more of like an introvert. So I'm more to myself. I like to be home and not always like out and about.
Right.
So I think, just my happy place is just like relaxing at
Okay.
home because I feel like as an introvert, I sometimes get emotionally drained being around people all the time, going to
Right.
events, networking, filming, being in front of the camera,
Yes.
chatting on stories. And, sometimes it's just nice to just be in my own little bubble. What grounds me outside of content creation? You know what? Trying to find some hobbies
Okay.
because it's been hard because content creation was my escape from my 9 to 5. It was my
Okay.
hobby. It was my world, and
Right.
it still is my world because it's my full-time gig, and I feel like now I'm kinda battling on, wow, this is my world 24/7,
Mhm.
and I think it's so important for creators to develop skills and hobbies outside of what they do because sometimes like you can go a little crazy of just like having like just brain being content
Right.
24/7. And so I think I've been exploring some hobbies. Like late last year I took some acting
Okay.
classes, and I want to try to find like a maybe a little sport to do. So I was thinking about maybe trying to take tennis lessons, and I don't know, just
Tennis could
find
be fun, you
just
just never
finding, yeah,
know.
just another creative outlet to where I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I can take a break thinking about the algorithms and the posting and the
Right.
analytics and just kind of do something that, I gets my mind off of it. And so I've been trying to try new things and develop other skills as
Okay.
well. So,
That's awesome. I think that's
yeah.
really important. That's really
Yeah.
awesome because you do
Yeah.
still have to find time away from, the social media. You are doing it. And
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think that's also really important that if you are, looking to be a content creator and you are someone who is an introvert, it is very possible to still be a content creator and
Yeah.
like put yourself out there because I
Yeah.
know that some people may feel, oh, I am too shy and so I can't, but I
Yeah.
want to. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just something that you just kind of have to just like work through, and if it's something that you want, I think for me, what helped me was because I was so introverted in real life, I felt more myself on camera, or I
Right.
could be more myself on camera because I'm like, I'm just talking to my camera. Nobody's really watching in real life, and I think that really helped me break that barrier and that mindset.
What is something that your followers would be surprised to know about you?
Um, I think one thing that they would be surprised is I'm a black belt in karate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am.
I'm like acting all shocked. It's not that it's that shocking, but it's like I used to do my mom put us in karate when we were younger. So I didn't know like too
Yeah.
many people who really like karate or do karate anymore. So
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I did it growing up, and then I just kinda progressed, in my teens and into my early 20s, and I got a black belt.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I like that. That
Yeah.
definitely would you heard that followers. So something that they
Oh,
get to know about
yeah.
you. All right. So I have a fun question that I wanted to ask.
Mhm,
So I want you to finish this sentence.
mhm.
The secret to being a successful content creator is I love when I make people think.
Ooh. I would say letting go of your limiting beliefs.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. I
Yes.
think we focused, like I said, a lot on the numbers and what other people are doing and
Right.
comparing ourselves. And I think when you let go and you just be and you just do and just don't worry about what other people are doing, I think that's where you will see success the
Right.
most. Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like that. I have one more fun question for you.
Mhm.
But outside, and I know that we kind of talked about the different things that you want to try to get skill in or just
Mhm.
experience. But if you were not doing content creation, what is it that you would like to do?
Yeah, so I would love to get into well, I was studying like fashion, like in college, like I was going to school for retail and consumer science.
Okay.
So I for me it would be somewhere in like the fashion industry, like becoming like a buyer.
Okay.
That was like a dream of mine to like work in fashion, be a buyer like for like a big brand, and pick what goes into the stores and stuff like
Right.
that. My job before going full time was a visual merchandiser. So I was
Okay.
doing
Oh,
like
wow. So you
window
have some experience
displays,
and
store setups, all that type of stuff. So it was creative. I've always been in like a creative field.
okay.
And so like for me, it would just be leaning back into like a creative field for sure.
Right. Thank you. I love
Yeah.
that. And I just have one final question out there for our aspiring content creators out there, or just anyone that could use the advice. But what would you say, to someone who really is scared to get started? Just, I know we mentioned something earlier, but just scared to get started and put themselves out there. What would you say to them?
I would say you just have to start, and I know that's scary, but you just have to start. And the more you do it, the more easier it becomes. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people let fear get into the way. They're like, "Oh, I don't know what people are going to think if I
Right.
post this content." And I think it's so important just to post. I think a lot of people stop themselves because they're just afraid to post. They're
Right.
like, "I don't want," it's like they want it, but it's like, well, you have to post. That's step one.
Right.
Once you get through step one, step two is, being consistent and kind of seeing
Yes.
what sticks and
Consistency.
seeing what you like, because you may think you want to do makeup and then you start posting some videos, you're like, maybe that's not my lane. Like,
Right.
it's not what I'm feeling with. And I'm actually like telling like murder mystery stories. Like, I
Right.
don't know. Like, you just have to post. And I think once you post, you'll see what sticks, you'll see what you like, and like
Yes.
you'll lean into your own authenticity
Yes.
on the
Which is
platforms.
so important, just being
Yeah.
your authentic self. I feel like
Yeah.
that's the only way you can be for however long, and I'm like, if you're not, eventually, we
Mhm.
will know.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, so I really thank you for, just
Oh,
coming to this interview today,
thank
accepting it. I had a
you.
wonderful
Oh,
time.
this is so fun. I
Yes,
love
I love
this.
hearing that, and
Oh,
I just really wanted to just get in that mind, I'm like, of content creating and someone,
mhm.
who is authentic and, you go into these places. I just really wanna say thank you on that as well, 'cause
Aw.
just being able to highlight people, just being genuine about it and, giving us, folks something to do. 'Cause there's a painting place I think I seen you do, where I was
Uh-huh.
like, wait, I think it was, I can't remember what it was. It was like the spin art? No, is it spin art?
It
I
was
think it
probably
was.
spin art, yeah.
Yeah,
That
so I was
was a
like, I
while
think
back,
I wanna
yeah.
try that. I've never done anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah.
just keep on doing what you're doing. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Keep being sweet and genuine, and
Thank
that's how
you.
you get those authentic people who, want to say, "Come on, I'm gonna do this interview."
Oh, yes, I love that. Thank you
So
so
yes,
much.
thank you. So that's all that we have for today. Please stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.
Bye.